Alright, we're taking a look at 5.8. There is a presentation called Assembly Constraints available for you to watch and look at if you kind of need a review, so we're just going to go through it real quick. Main types of constraints: make constraint. You can see how this side and this side kind of got glued together, comes together like that. You got our flush constraint. That's where you choose two sides. They come together and they end up kind of being on the same plane. We'll see a good example of this when I demonstrate it. Here's actually a good example of a flush, or where these two sides are flush together. Angle just means that you can put an angle and then you can make it look like that. Tangent constraint, pretty straightforward there, how you work with that. And then an insert constraint allows you to take a round object and put it into a hole. And then you can do things to make it flush and different things like that. The rest of the presentation I'm not going to take time to look at, but there's a lot of good information just to read through quickly in terms of constraints. The big thing here is with constraints, we're trying to kind of lock down our degrees of freedom so that nothing's going to fall out in our model or anything like that. Alright, let's jump over to Inventor. I know that was fast. But you'll see it all in action as we start working with it in Inventor. Alright, so now how I have Inventor open, I'm in an assembly file. So I went to File, New, and created an assembly like that. Right, and I've already taken time to insert my pieces. So I've already placed them and do that, and now I just kind of want to walk you through some of these different kinds of constraints, and you can see what happens to them. So I have my creature here, my individual parts, and I just want to start putting some of them together. So come up here to constraint, and let's just walk through them. First we have the make constraint. Right, so if I want to mate something, I can basically, you want to choose the two sides that you want next to each other. So let's say I choose that side and this side. Suddenly those two sides are sticking together. Now when you're done, you got to make sure you click apply, because even though the action has happened, and it's not going to stick until you click apply. So click apply quickly, and that stuff works. Right. So at this point, it appears that I can move it kind of anywhere I want, but it likes to. It really is mated there. And that's where the degrees of freedom comes in, so that we don't make it look like we're taking it really far off or anything like that. So working on that. Alright, let's work with the next one. The next one I'm going to show you is actually an insert constraint. This is one that maybe you will use depending on what you're using. So I'm going to use this peg. And first thing I'm going to do is I got my constraint chosen, insert. I chose my first object, and then I'm going to choose, I'll zoom in here. Right, so here I'm going to kind of this like that, and it comes together. Now at this point I might be thinking, oh, I actually want it to stick out the other direction. So it might just be clicking this, right, and that moves it real quick. Actually ends up going through like that. Or the other thing you can do, if I go back here, is I can offset it, and if I know my distance, I can say, oh, I just want it to go 1 inch offset. And so depending on which direction, so this one, it actually moved 1 inch that way, which I don't want that. If you want to go the other direction, depending on what's going on, you can choose, you would just put a negative number in here. So let's say -1. Let's try that. Oh, I clicked apply already. That's right. So I could just go back here to this, and I gotta remember where I'm doing this. This is the danger of putting too many pieces in right away. So here it is. So I can come back here. I just want to change this number. Edit it. And if I do a -1, so now it's -1. Now you're going to see it went in like that, but it doesn't go all the way through. Right? So I have that option. That's the simple way to make an insert work. All right? I'm going to come over here to this piece. I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to put a constraint in. I'm going to do an insert constraint again. Move it out of the way, and I'm going to insert it down into this hole here again. So I chose that one and that one. Okay, and oh, it's having fun with me, kind of just putting things together. But now as I zoom in here, let's try and get it in the center of the screen there. You can see that's how it inserted. Now if I wanted it more in the hole there, maybe I'm going to go like that. Ooh, that looks much nicer. Right? If I want it to go the other direction, right, I can offset it, as I talked about just a second ago. Working with that, doing that. But let's do this one. Let's say we do it like this, and we accidentally click apply, and we're like, oh man, I really wanted that to be flush. Well, you can still add that constraint. I can come in here, go to flush constraint, and now I can choose this side and this side. And it doesn't like that because of how I chose that that insert constraint. But that's kind of the beauty of the browser and coming in here and adjusting things on the left like that. All right, so depending on kind of what kind of constraints you have, you can do that. But very often you can go in and you can make changes, assuming it's working with the things you've already done. All right, so I'm just going to cancel that. Like that. So now I've assembled it to the leg, right? Constrained it to the leg. Now I want to constrain it to the body. So let's say I click there. I'm going to go here and let me find my body. I'm just going all over the place, right? And now I want to go here, right? And oh, I chose a make constraint. Whoops. I want to insert constraint. Let's insert there, right? And click apply. Now at this point, I can still move this leg back and forth, right? And if this is the design I'm liking, which I'll be honest, it's not my favorite right now. Let's see if I can get a proper view of this thing. There's a top view. Can we get a front view? Can we rotate it maybe? There we go. All right, starting to put the deer together in that way. Yeah, that just looks funny, so probably wouldn't keep it that way. All right, but that kind of demonstrates it, and you can come in here and you can work with the different things going in like that. So the point of the video is not to take a lot of time, but just show it to you real quick, give you a sense of how it's working. You're gonna have to play around with it as you put your pieces together, and remember, you want to get rid of the XYZ so that you don't have any of this motion in here, right? Yeah, I still got to do a lot with that one. Okay, so I still got some motion there, so I'd want to find a constraint to keep that motion from happening. I'd probably want to assemble it a little bit differently too. All right, so that's a very brief overview of how some of these things work, kind of reminder of the mate and the flush and how those things come together. Let me, I didn't do a good job demonstrating flush, so let me put a flush constraint in there. So I'm going to choose this face right here and this face right here, and now you can see how they're flush with each other. All right, and then I could actually do an insert constraint on top of that. Oops. I don't know what I selected there, right? So they're still lining up like that, and I can apply those. All right, and now they're working together. And one more, I'm going to go insert here. Let's put this here. All right, click apply. All right, definitely have to do some work, as my dear, his legs are all mixed up. Right? Okay, I wasn't trying to make it look pretty, just trying to demonstrate how the constraints work and some of the issues you might have as you're doing it. Right? As you work with it, it's just about thinking about what the constraint is, flipping things around, changing them back and forth, rotating your object, choosing the right thing, and that's going to get it in the right place. So as you run into errors and situations that you don't like, just ask questions and we'll get it fixed, right? Working together to get these things assembled. All right. Okay, that's it for assemblies.